This is Mission Control Houston. Good morning, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Space Station Live. Today is Monday, June 6th, 2016. You're getting a live look at the inside of the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, Texas, known here as the White Flight Control Room, with the Orbit 2 team. Leading the team today is Flight Director Emily Nelson. On Capcom, the voice between the sky and the ground is Christina Cook. Just about 250 statute miles above the Earth, over the middle of the Pacific Ocean, zooming around the Earth every 90 minutes, 17,000 miles per hour, is the Expedition 47 crew. Here's a look at the crew on board right now from left to right. We have Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Skripochka, NASA astronaut Jeff Williams, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin, European Space Agency astronaut Tim Peake, NASA astronaut and commander of the complex Tim Kopra, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Yuri Malenchenko. In the wee hours of this morning, wearing a mask and a headlamp, NASA astronaut Jeff Williams opened the hatch to the darkened beam module at 3:47 a.m. Central Time, 4:47 a.m. Eastern Time, and along with his Russian cosmonaut Oleg Skripochka entered the beam, the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, for the first time to collect an air sample. Upon entering, Williams told flight controllers here at Mission Control Houston that beam looked pristine and that it was cold inside, but there was no evidence of any condensation on the inner surfaces. The duo collected data from sensors on the dynamics of beam's expansion on May 26th and 28th, and is currently being downlinked for analysis by Bigelow Aerospace. Capcom Jessica Meir, during the Orbit 1 shift, told Williams that the temperature at the aft bulkhead of beam was reading 44 degrees Fahrenheit, just what was expected in the pre-launch analysis of the characteristics of the expandable module. This morning, the duo entered beam to collect the air sample, then came out and entered again to collect the deployment data from the sensors. They checked that the air tanks were empty, and then they cleaned up and closed the hatch. Over the next 2 days, they have a few more additional ingress opportunities, more opportunities to enter beam and deploy other sensors and equipment inside that are scheduled to take place again Tuesday and Wednesday. Each time after they enter, whenever they're done with the activities, they will the hatch will be closed after each entry. After these next two opportunities on Tuesday and Wednesday, there's no timetable for another entrance into beam after Wednesday. Project manager of beam, Rajiv Dasgupta, estimates about 6 to 7 crew entries per year. Beam expanded from its packed configuration to 4 times its compressed size on Saturday, May 28th. Astronauts on board the orbiting laboratory will be entering the module periodically to work with different tests looking specifically at radiation, impact, and temperature over its 2-year-long stay on the International Space Station. Expandable modules save a lot of room when being shipped to space. In fact, beam was carried to the station in the unpressurized trunk of the Dragon, the SpaceX Dragon cargo vehicle. This technology could be used in future designs for a mission to Mars. This is Mission Control Houston. Good morning. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Space Station Live. Today is Tuesday, June 7th, 2016. Jeff Williams just wrapped up his activities entering the BEAM module, the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, for the second time. This time he entered to install some sensors as well as some handrails and foot rails. Over the next 2 days, he'll be entering the BEAM module once today and again tomorrow to install a series of sensors that will be looking at radiation, impact analysis, and temperature. This is a recorded view of Williams this morning, installing some of these sensors. Yesterday, he and his fellow crewmate Oleg Skripochka entered the BEAM for the very first time. Williams reported that the BEAM looked in pristine condition and that it was cold. When he entered, it was about 44 degrees Fahrenheit. Yesterday, he took some air samples, downloaded some deployment data from the deployment that happened on May 28th, and checked that the air tanks were empty before cleaning up his activities and closing the hatch. Each time after he enters, Jeff Williams is required to open and close the hatch after completing each activity and entrance. Once he enters tomorrow and completes the installation of all of the sensors, there's no future timetable for when he will enter again. However, the project manager of the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, Rajiv Dasgupta, estimates the astronauts will be entering about 6 or 7 times per year over its 2-year-long stay. Before entering BEAM, Williams worked on the multi-omics experiment. This looks at the possible mechanisms that relate to dysfunction of specifically the immune system during prolonged periods in space. It looks at the composition of some of the microorganisms like bacteria and fungi in the gut, some of the molecular products of metabolism, and the whole immune system. Multiomics studies the parts of the bodies by taking various samples of saliva and fecal matter. For this study, Williams collected a sample of his saliva. This is Mission Control Houston. Good morning. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Space Station Live. Today is Wednesday, June 8th, 2016. Jeff Williams entered the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module this morning for the last time this week to finish up installing some sensors and hardware at 9:17 a.m. this morning. And that will wrap up the initial setup of the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module. Here we have some recorded footage of this morning, him setting up those sensors that will be taking a look at radiation, debris impacts, and temperature over its 2-year-long stay. 2 days ago, Monday, was the first time astronauts entered the expandable module in space. Jeff Williams entered with Russian cosmonaut Oleg Skripochka. When he first entered, he reported that the inside looked to be in pristine condition and also reported that it was cold. The temperature taken was read 44 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the past 3 days, Williams has taken air samples, downloaded the deployment data from the expansion process that occurred on May 28th. He checked that the air tanks were empty inside and installed all of the sensors, hardware, foot rails, and handrails on the inside to allow him to work. After completing the activities today and over the course of these past 3 days, the hatch was closed. He did it a bit early this morning. Astronauts will not enter again until August of this year to check how things are going. Project manager of Beam, Rajiv Dasgupta, estimates astronauts will be entering about 6 or 7 times per year during his 2-year-long stay. Again, the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module was installed on the International Space Station April 18th. It expanded completely on May 28th, and the first ingress of Beam happened a couple days ago on June 6th. This morning, after Jeff Williams closed the hatch after completing these activities, he had a few words to say, congratulating the teams on the successful expansion and installation of Beam. It's ready to go for its 2 years of testing with incremental checks throughout its 2 years. Let's take a look at what Jeff had to say this morning.
And Houston Station Beam egress is complete.
Copy that, Jeff. Thanks for your work.
And congratulations again to the entire NASA Bigelow team for a very successful several days ingress to Beam to get it instrumented and get the experiment underway.
We appreciate that, Jeff, and congratulations to you as well. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Again, that soundbite was just from just under an hour ago. The hatch was closed and again will not open again until about August to check how things are going. You can follow updates on the International Space Station using the International Space Station blog and the Facebook pages, Instagram page, and Twitter page. You can also ask any question you'd like using the hashtag AskNASA. Until tomorrow, this is Mission Control, Houston.